Hello, this is a demonstration of the problem that I'm seeing between the nozzle, the heater, and the heat break in the Plus4 hot end. What I'm going to demonstrate to you today is how the nozzles coming out of the factory are getting pre-tensioned, and the tension force is being transmitted into the ceramic heat break that you can see here. When the ceramic heater center line and the heat sink center line are not straight, what will happen is the nozzle will go into the heat sink, and due to the misalignment, the threads on the nozzle will be a contributor to the breaking that we're seeing in the ceramic heat break. This doesn't happen on every unit, but on some units coming out of the factory, when they're assembling these hot ends, they must have the ceramic heater and the heat sink in line when they start putting these things together. Now, there's two rods that go through the heat sink, and they are held in place by set screws here, here, and here, also here. So these rods extend straight through the heat sink and are supposed to be used to align the ceramic heater center line and the heat sink center line. So I'm going to show you what I experience. I'm going to insert the nozzle, find the thread, and I'm going to start turning. Now, it's hard to feel this when you're using a tool such as a socket, but as I use my fingers, I can start to feel the tension. And right there at that point here is when I can start feeling that nozzle end grinding against the hole in the heater. I'll measure the distance and show you. From the top of the nozzle hex to the face of the ceramic heater is 6.65 millimeters. Past that point, as we screw in the nozzle, we pre-tension that ceramic heater in there. The ceramic heater is the weak link in this whole assembly. It's going to take all the forces, and since it's ceramic, it's going to be very brittle and will be subjected to a lot of side loading. I think this is where we're having a lot of issues with the ceramic heat breaking. Now, I will try to continue to force the nozzle up in there, and I can feel at some point the edge grinds in there, and then it'll loop around and it'll come back again. And once you get that nozzle screwed all the way up in there, I can hardly turn it with my fingers. Right there it hits, and right there again. Now I've got so much torque generated now in this assembly that the very tip of that nozzle, as it comes to the top here, is misaligned all the way. And if you have 3 degrees, as much as 3 degrees, I measured and showed you guys, from that point there to the end. I'll move the camera around a little bit here. You can see it's 48.23 millimeters. roughly. Now, when you equate that to the degrees of misalignment we have, you get a bad condition. Now, I can't screw that in there with my fingers. I just can't do it. But when I use a socket, I can hardly feel that because I'm using the tool to do it for me. And many users out there, when they assemble these nozzles, and the hot end is already mounted under the extruder on the tool head, they don't feel that. But right now, all of that pressure is centered right there on that ceramic heat break. That's where I think we're going wrong. Thank you for watching, and I hope we can get this resolved. Have a good day.